What's up, everyone? Tom here from Metalloud, and welcome to another episode of In Defense Of, where I take a look at things that are probably not so popular in common culture, or at least things that are really popular to kind of hate on as well, even if they have a strong following or strong fan base, anything like that. So today, what I want to talk about is what are known as Soundcloud rappers. And these are artists like, you may know them as Lil Xan, Lil Pump, or Post Malone, for instance, kind of got to start there. Extension, I believe. And they all kind of follow a similar formula. They all kind of have a similar aesthetic. There's a few outliers here and there, but most of them have their covered in facial tattoos, kind of goofy hairstyles, and promoting a lot of illicit drug use, things like that. And they kind of got popular, as the name may imply, releasing tracks on SoundCloud. I mean, these were the guys who were pushing, their Fire mixtape and put them in, McDonald's Happy Meals and giving them to people and whatever, all those stories you've heard. And that's kind of where that name SoundCloud rapper kind of comes from. And they've really kind of, a lot of them, the names that I mentioned, for instance, kind of blew up overnight. They were unknowns, and then all of a sudden their videos or their songs kind of went viral, and they just gained these huge followings, including like worldwide. Even the artist Post Malone, for instance, probably one of the more popular ones, who's gotten a lot of radio play. He's been featured with a lot of other more popular artists. So they've really kind of gained this sense of popularity just out of the blue. No one was really expecting it. But they're also, as popular as they did get, many people kind of also criticize them for those reasons. They've kind of blend in with that, often that mumble rap, that kind of dry delivery of things. The explicit drug use is kind of something that feels like just a lazy way to write, and kind of just, it feels a lot of times like they're co-opting language that isn't their own, or that their lyrics in general are just kind of cheesy and pointless and shallow, as well as the aesthetic of the facial tattoos and everything. That it kind of puts a lot of people off and makes them kind of fun to hate on. And for the most part, I honestly agree. I don't think any of those artists are particularly good. I think Post Malone can kind of write a few good hooks here and there. I don't think he's that great, and it's kind of hard to take him seriously knowing that he was a former metalcore kid. The others, like Lil Pump, for instance, who has that Gucci Gang song, which is just absolutely repetitive and terrible. If you want to understand how bad it actually is, there's a YouTube video you can go watch that's basically cuts out every word that's repeated, and the video is like 30 seconds long because the song is just repetitive as hell, and it's not good. There is no depth to them. Lil Xan kind of tries to be something deep and meaningful, doesn't really succeed at it. His songs and his voice is kind of grating as well. I don't think he really has the voice to do this. He's not really exactly, none of these guys are exactly rappers, but they're definitely using kind of hip-hop beats, and it's a lot of it just ends up being utterly cringeworthy. So I really kind of put them all off after hearing one or two of them, and kind of just dismissed them all as being part of the same bunch. So what that brings me to is what I want to defend, or who I want to defend, and that's the artist Lil Peep. And honestly, I can't believe I'm doing this, because again, I understand the aesthetic is kind of cringy. I understand that the songs at times can be but after listening to Lil Peep, I kind of understand it, and I have become a actual fan, I would say, of his work and of his songs, because there is a deeper sense there. He manages to blend emo and hip-hop into just one cohesive vehicle, and it's something that hasn't really been done, or hasn't really been done well previously. I mean, there's been some artists out there, like Kid Cudi, for instance, who kind of did that for a while. Even Kanye kind of dived into that a little bit. But overall, I don't think it really was done as well as Lil Peep kind of did it. It's unfortunate now that he is deceased, and it also is kind of unfortunate that even again, the drug use on here is, for him, it feels a little bit different than the others. I would say that hearing from Lil Xan outside of his music, he kind of also has that duality of talking about drug use, but also at the same time trying to prevent other people from using drugs. That's kind of his whole mission. Lil Peep kind of doesn't feel the same way about it, but it kind of feels like he's expressing himself as using it as a coping mechanism, which I think a lot of people do and a lot of people can relate to. I think that his music kind of is elevated above those. And of course, he's got some cheesy songs. He's got some... Ben's Truck is one that I find particularly catchy, but it's not a great song. It's really kind of cheesy. Witchblade is another one that, again, it's really catchy. Like, he really manages to write these hooks that are going to stay stuck in your head because they're kind of repetitive, they're kind of simplistic, but they are fun. They do manage to work well. And throughout even those songs, though, there's still this kind of undertone of darkness and depression and things. And I think that he kind of really tapped into something that has been going on for this kind of modern generation, I would say. And he kind of, and a lot of his songs are also not just necessarily straight, what I would call hip hop, but they blend also kind of, folk rock, melodic rock into them. Basically, a lot of it sounds like, brand new post, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. It really kind of feels like he took influence from those kinds of albums and just kind of put his own spin on it. And he did kind of, obviously, is using a lot of co-opted rap and hip-hop language in his songs and his styles and things. And it's clear to kind of hear where his influences lie, but it's a nice blend that I think really kind of separately may have not worked. I don't think he would have been a great emo artist. I don't think he would have been a great straight rapper or hip hop artist, but the blending of the two kind of really manages to create something that's new and hasn't been done too well and isn't being done too well. And I think he's one of the artists that really kind of managed to actually do that, and kind of hit that mark that he was going for and kind of hit that market. And it shows with the amount of success that he's had. I mean, there's his songs that he's done that are definitely great. I would particularly Awful Things is probably one of my favorite tracks by him, and it really kind of is this generally sad song. The song Spotlight is another one, and they all have these kind of interesting videos that go along with it. Their production values obviously weirdly mixed. Some of the effects, the special effects, are kind of really low budget, but the overall quality, I feel, is definitely kind of up there a little bit. They're interesting and definitely pretty well done overall. It just, I think that people kind of dismiss him again because he's got the facial tattoos, because he's got that look, because for a lot of people, I understand it, it's kind of appropriation of hip-hop and things, but I think that he kind of respects it and did something that was more than what other artists have done. I mean, he's not necessarily taking it like Eminem started out with, and the kind of horrific or some over-the-top violent lyrics that Eminem kind of was famous for as the Slim Shady persona. He's not doing things like really like other white rappers have kind of done. He's not doing anything like his contemporaries were doing. Like he probably definitely nothing like Post Malone was doing, nothing like Lil Xan was doing, nothing like Lil Pump was doing. He kind of stood out from that crowd, I would say, and managed to do something that's more... So I think, in all honesty, that's why I kind of want to defend him. I think that people don't give him a chance because of the name Lil Peep, because of the look, the facial the anarchy facial tattoo, the kind of dead eyes. I don't, people kind of special because of the emphasis on the drug use, or and particularly with prescription drugs and with cough medicine, with cocaine, for instance, another big one. But I think dismissing him in particularly, and again, I will say, I really don't see the merit of the others. Post Malone, maybe I can understand a little bit, but it kind of puts me off, especially after hearing some of the interviews with him. But I think Lil Peep's probably the only one that really stood out as kind of genuine and was really kind of doing something and actually had a message. And a lot of people compare him to Kurt Cobain, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think they both had a lot of similarities in the sense of talking about their demons and talking about their lives and things like that. But I'm not necessarily sure that comparison is fair enough. I think a lot of people put emphasis on it because they both died young, but I wouldn't necessarily straight up say that would be a relevant comparison. But I do think that Lil Peep kind of could have had a social impact and an impact on the music community if he had managed to make more music. Again, unfortunately, he passed away from drug use, but it's sad, but that's kind of what happens. But also, he does make a lot of references to that in his music, as far as wanting to die, or how basically he takes drugs just recklessly because of that, because he really has no will to live. And it's tragic to see something like that, but it's also highly relatable for a lot of people going through stuff like that. And he did it in a way that is catchy, is kind of meaningful. And I think a lot of his songs and lyrics really kind of, you kind of have to go under the surface a bit. I mean, there's some cheesy elements with the language used and the inflections, but once you kind of get past that, I think there is something more there under the surface that is definitely needs to be explored and talk about. And I think that if we are to get more artists like him, it'd be nice to obviously have some that maybe kind of can tone down some of the I get why they do it. I get that's the whole thing with the drug use. And I'm not a person who's anti-drug use, but at the same time, I mean, you got to understand that that's things that obviously result in people's deaths. And I don't think exactly, I don't really think he was promoting it. It didn't feel like that. Like some of the artists that are out there feel like that's their thing. They're trying to say, hey, this is cool, you should do this too. It really kind of felt like he was saying, hey, this is my life, it's fucked up. You don't want to do this. I can show you how I live, but you're not coming back from that. And I think that's kind of the difference between the way he delivered and a lot of the other ones kind of deliver their message. So I would like to kind of hear more of that, at least if they're going to talk about it, at least frame it in a way that he did, which was, hey, this isn't glorious, this isn't pleasant, this is just how I cope with everything, and I could die, and he did die. So I just think that people kind of don't give him enough of a chance as I think they should. I kind of really quickly became a fan of his after actually listening to it, after dismissing and saying, hey, maybe I should just try it. How bad could it really be? And this is after, again, listening to Gucci Gang or Lil Xan's Betrayed or and any of those, and kind of just already having this sour taste in my mouth. But it was particularly after he died, I kind of tried to say, maybe see what all the hype is about. And, I actually am a fan now. I could say that I do listen to him and like a lot of his songs on a regular basis. Again, that's not to say that every single song that he wrote was deep or meaningful or great or anything like that. He's got a lot of just laughable, corny songs, but just overall, I think that he kind of brought something new to the table and did it very, very well. And also, you can kind of hear his improvement towards the his later songs. So it would have been nice to see his trajectory and to see where he actually ended up with his music, and if we got something that was even better than what he had been releasing overall. So I just wanted to take the time to kind of defend Lil Peep, because I think that he is an artist that is worth defending. My favorite artist, not anything in particular that I'm going to say, you know, if you don't like him, then I'm going to try to tell you that you're absolutely wrong, anything like that. But I just think that a lot of people, the hatred simply comes from the aesthetic and not actually listening to it or the association with the other SoundCloud rappers. So it's worth, I definitely think he's worth kind of investigating and taking the time to kind of actually listen to. Thank you so much for watching the In Defense of Lil Peep. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. How do you feel about him as an artist, or what about the other SoundCloud artists? Was I too forgiving with Lil Peep, or was I too harsh with the other artists? I want to hear from you, so let me know. Leave a comment down below. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more.